Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the July meeting of the Wilmot Township Committee of Adjustment. Before we begin, I would ask that Mr. Bowman please read the Land Territorial Acknowledgement Agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have the privilege to read the territorial acknowledgement tonight. We have gathered in Wilmot Township and on the traditional territory of the neutral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee and the Mississauga peoples. We also want to acknowledge the importance of the Dish with One Spoon Covenant, a peace agreement made between Indigenous nations before the Europeans arrived. It characterizes our collective responsibility to each other and Mother Earth. We should take only what we need, leave enough for others, and keep the dish clean. By acknowledging this covenant and the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, we are reminded of our important connection to this land, where we live, learn, and work together as a community.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce members of our committee. We have on my immediate right Mr. Steve Miller, Mr. Tyler Bowman, Ms. Christine Kaler, and Ms. Lalonde. Also with us this evening, we have Mr. Andrew Martin, who is our Secretary-Treasurer, as well as a Manager of Planning for the Township of Wilmot, and Mr. Cameron Miller, Planner for the Township, and it will be Mr. Miller who will be introducing our applications. My name is Wayne Roth. We are an independent body appointed by Wilmot Township Council, and we have the power to make minor changes to existing zoning regulations and to approve some changes to existing non-conforming uses as well as to give consent. Each applicant will be notified in writing of the decision within 10 days, and with that decision will be instructions on how it can be appealed. Any decision made by this committee can be appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal, who will then hold a meeting and make a final and binding decision. Only the applicant and certain prescribed public agencies can appeal the committee's decision. If the decision on a minor variance or consent is not appealed, it will become final and binding after 20 days from the date of this meeting. If the decision on a consent is not appealed, the same applies. For the format of the meeting, we will have Mr. Miller introduce each application. The applicant will then have the opportunity to come forward to add any additional information if they wish to do so, and following that, if there is anyone in the audience or in the virtual audience that wishes to comment for or against the application, they are welcome to do so. The committee members then have the opportunity to discuss and question the applicant, and then the committee will make a decision. Mr. Miller, would you introduce the first application, please?
Thank you, Chair. The first application is minor variance application A10/23 concerning 150 Brewery Street in Baden. And so this application is proposing to reduce the minimum front yard setback for a covered porch and an attached garage from 7.6 meters to 3 meters and 6.5 meters respectively, which would then facilitate the construction of a single detached dwelling. So the property is presently vacant, and the applicants have been working with GRCA to come up with a concept for the property. As the property is wholly regulated by GRCA due to the presence of partially and within a floodplain, and there's some wetland features as well on the property. So the applicants have obtained approval in principle from GRCA on the development concept so far, and have proceeded with this concept to the Committee of Adjustment, and hence why there's a reduction to the front yard setback that would help it stay out of these features that are on the property. The proposed front yard reduction is consistent to other homes, specifically on Brewery Street in the immediate surrounding area, many of which were constructed in the late to mid 1800s and predate the township zoning bylaw. So it is consistent with these other homes in this area. In circulating the application, we did receive some comments from Nova Power Corp. They commented that the house shall meet some minimum distances to the hydro pole or the closest energized wire. And so in the materials that have been submitted to date, it appears that even with a reduction in the front yard, that the house would exceed these distances, and as part of the building permit process, should the committee approve this application, the applicants would be required to engage a surveyor through the building permit process to ensure that those distances are met. We also circulated our Township Infrastructure Services Department, and they did not have any issues with the proposed reduction, and we did not receive any concerns from the public and are recommending that it be approved.
Thank you very much. Does the applicant wish to add anything to those comments? Okay, thank you very much. And obviously, there's no one in the audience or virtually that wants to speak. So I'll open up to members of committee. Any comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, would someone bring forth a motion to approve? Moved by Ms. Lalonde, second by Mr. Bowman. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you very much. Mr. Miller, would you introduce the next application, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. The next application is consent application B04/23 concerning 1512 Mannheim Road in Mannheim. So the applicant is proposing essentially to convey a small strip of land, roughly 1.2 meters wide, 4 feet, stretching the entire depth of the subject property, and to convey that as a lot addition from 1512 to 1520 Mannheim Road. So both of the properties are in possession of the applicant currently, and it is their intention to convey this land while the properties are in common ownership. So when one property is sold, if the new owner decides to erect a fence, that there's adequate space between the mutual property line. Staff did not receive any comments or concerns and are recommending approval of the consent.
Okay, thank you very much. Does the applicant wish to address committee on this matter? Mr. Belez, do you wish to address committee or add anything?
I trust my fellow Wilmot people that the answer is positive.
Okay, that's the smallest comment I've ever heard you make in this chamber, quite frankly.
One of the things of getting old, I lost my hearing, so
Yeah.
whatever you said, I hope you
Yeah, it's good to see you again. Mr. Belez, of course, is the next mayor of Wilmot Township. Obviously, there's no one in the audience that wishes to comment, so I'll turn it over to members of committee. Any comments, concerns, or questions? Seeing none, would someone bring forth the motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Miller, seconded by Ms. Kaler. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Last order of business is the approval of the minutes of our last meeting, moved by Ms. Lalonde, seconded by Mr. Bowman. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much, all. Is there any activity for the month of August?
Yeah, we are expecting an application to be filed tomorrow. So then we would look at having an August 2nd meeting pending committee availability.
On that date again, please?
August 2nd. When?
It's okay for me, I think. So, yeah.
I guess on that note, we could check availability for the 9th, August 9th, if more members are available, just to ensure that otherwise if there's a late cancellation that we have quorum.
Is that a better date? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so 4 members for the 9th.
Okay.
So I'll confirm next week for sure, as long as they do end up filing.
Okay, good. Thank you all.